All right, so April 4th of 2024, we continued our novelty band quest, and we went and saw Galactic Empire with the band Lights Out at Temple Live in Cleveland, Ohio. So, if you can't tell, this is a Star Wars-based prog band. And honestly, the main reason I went, we have some interest in Star Wars, but it was a cheap ticket. I guess, relatively speaking, it was a cheap ticket. So I figured you combine a cheaper show with, maybe some Star Wars thing. We knew nothing about this band.
No, we just knew they're a metal band that plays Star Wars music. That's all we knew.
Exactly. So I think maybe I saw 20 seconds of a YouTube clip. That was as far as I went with that. So, so this is at Temple Live in Cleveland, which is a former Masonic temple. It is the evil lair building, no windows. It's 5 stories tall, whatever. It looks the part, but in it has 2 venues, a big one, and this is the little one, which they call the Asylum, which is a weird name, but this is a place where we had seen our other novelty band, which was Max Sabbath and Cybertronic Spree. So it's a relatively small place with basically no seating, a little bit along the edge walls, which I took advantage of during the show. The biggest problem the first time we went there was it was dark in there. They didn't have lights on. We thought, well, this time it'll be different.
No, it wasn't. It was even darker this time.
It was. It made no sense. So they had barely any lights on inside this venue. Thankfully, they had moved the merch stand.
Yeah, they moved it outside of the stage area, so it was just outside the door, so you could at least see what you're buying.
Yeah. So horrible presentation by the venue, but whatever. I guess we can expect that if we come back here again. So the ticket price, I said this was a cheap show. So it was $25 per ticket, plus fees. Which was $9.97 between taxes and other, Ticketmaster fees. So total, just shy of $35 per person. So we paid then roughly $70 to go to this show, which I hate to say it was a cheap show. $70 for 2 people. That's where we're at. So whatever. And one thing that I didn't realize at the time, but looking back at the socials for the venue, the comments for this venue for this particular show was full of people trying to ditch their tickets. I got tickets. Who wants tickets? I got a couple tickets. I've never seen that before. So it was a school night, and this is a concert for all ages. So kids would be there. So maybe when it actually got down to it, they're like, we can't take our kids to a show on a Thursday night. But anyway. So it was relatively packed, but it should have been more people apparently given the tickets that they sold. Okay, so the bands. Who was the first opening band?
So the first opening band, this was actually a surprise to us because on the flyers and anything or on their socials, there said nothing about an opening band. The only thing we found out later was that the venue put out some flyer hey, are there any local bands that want to do this show? We don't have an opener.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be Lights Out, which they describe themselves as a prog band, which they're not really prog, but they're from Baldwin Wallace College in Cleveland.
So it's they're a Cleveland, a college band. I'm sure they've played some shows. This was an opportunity, and they stepped up, which is nice that they reached out to local bands. I'm sure they didn't get paid anything for this. They had to come up and do it. So our ticket purchase was based solely on their just being Galactic Empire. It was weird. Other tour dates for their concert tour, they had a band called Bit Brigade, which kind of played classic 8-bit video game songs. We didn't get that, and literally at the last minute, they were asked, "Please, someone come in and fill out the tour a little bit more for this particular stop." So, whatever. So, Lights Out, prog band. Didn't feel very proggy. What did they feel like?
They're more just sort of like a pop punk, just sort of like a rock band, because they're more progressive in the sense it's we have a song that's 6 minutes with 2 guitar solos and keyboards. But they were still pretty good. I liked them. Yeah,
again, you're thrown into something. You're a local band. You probably don't have a long history of performing live. They did fine with all that. So Plus, we didn't know that they were even going to be there. We just showed up and there was 2 drum sets on the stage. We're like, there's an opening band. Okay, so they came and went, and then came Galactic Empire. So what are they?
So Galactic Empire, they're another prog band, but they're like a progressive metal band that plays mainly songs from Star Wars, but they also played a couple other songs from John Williams and other like movie themes.
Yeah, so we got, at least I can remember, it was Indiana Jones theme and Jurassic Park, the 2 of the other ones did. So there's no singing, it's literally just instrumental with it. And again, this was a kids show. They had asked people to cosplay. There was a couple people kind of dressed up. And there was quite a few kids. I mean, when I say kids, like 6, 7.
Below 10.
Well below 10 on this. And there was probably probably a dozen to a dozen and a half little kids. This is their first show. It's got to be their first show. I mean, it has to be, but high probability of that. So they'll have their ear protections on, walking around with all that stuff. So they had so Galactic Empire, they're all in costumes which are not, other than the drummer who looks like Boba Fett, everybody just looks like they're in the universe they're on. So they're not a particular character. They don't talk to the audience. There is some pre-recorded talking that they mime to, so they have kind of Star Wars-y voices, it's kind of robotic and whatever, like you would expect in the movies. But that's a little lacking because they're not interacting with you. They're not saying thanks for coming to the show or hello Cleveland, or whatever it may be. They're just doing a little talking. So they didn't do much of that to begin with. I mean, I have some video of them. I guess maybe I can show that, of kind of one of their things where they kind of launched into a little bit of a skit.
And we have no choice but to test the destructive power of our fully armed and operational battle station. Fire at will, Commander.
Commence primary ignition.
But outside of that, there wasn't much. So that was disappointing.
Yeah, in total, they maybe talk like 5 parts or something, just like their intro, introducing songs, and then maybe like a skit or 2, and that was like about it. There wasn't much variety, I guess, in their talking.
Yeah, it would have been nice if there was kind of like an overall theme or plot to the concert where they come in, and then they're gonna win some battle through music or tell a story through the music, and it just wasn't that. It was just played out, and so they needed more novelty to their novelty band other than just being dressed up and playing this. I think we've seen Max Sabbath and Cybertronic Spree, Metalocalypse or Death Clock. There's a little bit more to it with those. This one just felt a bit superficial with that. And also, how long was the show?
It was like probably not even longer than an hour. It's like it started at like 8:20 or something and ended at like 9:10 or something. It was short.
And that includes the encore. So they did their set, they exited, they came back, and they did Duel of Fates from episode 1. And I didn't realize, and like I left and I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, holy smokes, it's not even 9:30. And they went on stage at 8:20, and at this point we're halfway to our car, and I was like, boy. So little disappointing. That, I mean, again, maybe if it's for kids that they have an hour attention span, you're not going to drag them into an hour and a half show, but then it goes to the value, which is a little lacking if I'm paying that kind of money and I'm getting 50 minutes of music out of them. Okay, so rating the band. So Lights Out, our local self-described prog band in Cleveland. What do you give them?
I'd give them the green. They were fun. It'd be fun to see them again open for someone or at some festival or something. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I give them a yellow. Again, it goes to like, you need to describe your music better. And again, they're such a little band. They have almost no presence online. Like, thankfully, actually, they said the name of their band and they told us what their name identifier was in Instagram, because if you search for lights out, there's a lot of lights out. So they said it's lights, I can't remember what it was, but lights.out.official, whatever it may be. And so I was actually able to look it up in real time. So, hey, that was a smart move, because now I can follow you. But they're a yellow. I wouldn't go out of my way to see them, but if they showed up in another local performance, that'd be fine. I think they did a good job with what they had. Okay, and then Galactic Empire.
Yellow. They were good, but it's like I wanted more. I was hoping they'd just be like, because they only had like a little skits and stuff in between a couple of songs. I wanted a bit more than what we got.
Yeah. Well, it's a yellow. And that's because that's what we've seen with Max Sabbath, where they were, he's shooting stuff or throwing stuff into the audience. I mean, they did have an inflatable Death Star. They got punched around for a little bit, but they're so limited by not being able to talk to you that it kind of hampers it. Like I'm not like participating in this concert. I'm just kind of having a concert thrown at me. There's ability to have like a voice changing microphone. One person on that band should have that and be able to talk to you, like introduce the song, a little bit about them, something other than 5 pre-recorded vocals. Just a little lacking. So I give it a yellow. Only if you're interested in Star Wars and prog metal, and you can get it at a cheap price, because again, you're in for an hour. I'm not paying for more than the bare minimum, I think, to see that. Maybe this is better suited for a Comic-Con or something. Yeah, maybe. So, okay, so after that, so let's talk about the merch. So this was a little bit unique for it, because we first walked in, which is on the first floor, and this venue is up on the 3rd floor. What did we encounter on the first floor?
So as soon as we walked in, a guy sort of told us, he was like, hey, just so you know, there's like a little comic book shop over there. And we're like, okay, let's go check that out. And we went over there, and they had like comic books, action figures, Funko Pops, and they had quite a bit of stuff, actually.
Yeah, and it was all Star Wars based. Again, like if kids, this is for all ages, and there were kids there, you want to be able to sell something that a kid wants to walk away with a token of his event, right? And so while these weren't unique to a concert, it's at least a little Star Wars thing, and maybe there'd be some, memory of those two things together. So that was unique. Never seen that before. And then we went upstairs, and then they had, thankfully, the merch stand outside of the venue, which was, again, pitch black, and it was a problem at the Cybertronic Spree show where you literally couldn't see what you were buying. So what did they have for this?
So they had a few shirts, and then some stickers, beanies, hoodies, LPs, just a bunch of other like small things. And there wasn't really, because at like Max Sabbath, they had like something at every price point. If you just had like $10, you could get like patch, pin or something. Yeah. But this one, it's like you can get a sticker or a shirt, and that was basically it.
Yeah. So you're either in at $3, you're in at $30. And this is, and again, they're probably having some real problems with IP control that LucasArts or Fox, whoever owns, or Disney now, owns them. Like they probably have a very thin line that they can walk to sell stuff. So, but like, a patch that said Galactic Empire on it or something like that would have been nice. But the shirts were $30. So that was nice. That's probably about the lowest you're ever going to see a shirt. And the shirts were very well made.
Yeah.
They had great artwork, very colorful. It was very well done, but that was it. I'm not even sure they had kid sizes, though. I didn't see anything that was kids. And again, you have kids who are walking around that want to have a little token of this. With that being said, what did we end up getting at the merch?
So first we got a Galactic Empire sticker.
Yep.
And then I got a shirt with this like crazy pink logo that had like the I guess like generic metal font with like all the crazy letters.
Where you can't read it. It looks like it's a bunch of sticks out there. But again, that's an awesome like angle on this. Like you're someone without being able to read it, because honestly you can't read them. Like, wow, what band is that? And it turns out, like if you vaguely look at the artwork, like that looks kind of Star Wars based. And yeah, it is. And it says Galactic Empire. So kudos to them for coming up with that angle on that. So I just opted for the concert tour shirt, which had the dates in the back, and again, it had pretty good artwork on the front of that. So yeah, that was kind of a fun find. Again, we were able to support the band. Lights Out didn't have anything. Again, they were so small. I fully understand that they didn't have anything, and they were kind of thrown at the last minute. So we really couldn't throw any money their way as well. Okay, so first, we've been to the venue before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever for what that worth. The only first was really the bands.
Yeah. Well, this is also first with a comic book shop outside of it.
That's true. Not too many concerts are going to have a comic book store associated with the merch purchases. So that was, I guess, another first. Okay, so the overall review. So let's talk about the venue. Actually, I can't remember what we gave it last time. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a red. I still, if it's not what happened last time, I don't like this venue. Mm-hmm. It's parking, whatever. It's Cleveland. It's down the street from the Agora, which we go to, so we can just park on the street for free. But it's pitch black. I mean, it's just solid red. Don't like it.
I would give the venue a yellow. It's like the Asylum part is like fine, but it's just they just need to turn the lights on. It is insanely dark without the lights. It is impossible to see anything. And then, of course, as soon as the show's over, they turn the lights on, and it's like blinding because you've been staring at this like pitch black room the whole time.
Yeah, so the lights work. This is a choice by the venue to turn the lights off that's in there. And again, it's also kind of a branding issue. Like they call it, this is the Asylum, which is the smaller room, which is up on the third floor. Apparently there's a larger venue, which we have not been to. So it's weird because you're like, oh, I'm going to go to blank. And you may not realize that you're going to get into something smaller. So they have a bit of a branding problem there. Again, I don't like it, but we're going to come back. I think we have at least one more show here. Okay, the value, which I'll speak to the value. So ballpark, again, the tickets were $70. Our merch was $63. So in total, we were out $133 to come for this. So merch aside, so it was good value for the shirts and all that stuff. But, you know, the fact that we only bought these tickets, or I only bought these tickets knowing the Galactic Empire was going to be there. There was no indication that there was an opening band. So we can just take them off the table. So was this worth spending, you know, basically $70 just to see them? This is a borderline red. I don't think it is. I would give it a yellow if you have kids, you have a good interest in Star Wars, and you're okay with Prague, but it's only an hour. Mm-hmm. You're not getting bang for your buck. So I'll give it a cautious yellow. Just, man, be very aware of what you're getting yourself into with the length of the show. And like, it's never going to be different because they're all playing to pre-recorded, which a lot of the novelty bands do. So take it for what it's worth. So yellow/red, but I'll give them a benefit of the doubt and call it a weak yellow. Okay, so the merch, what would you give the merch?
I would just give it a yellow because like the shirts were great, but it's like besides that, I mean, it's like they only had their albums on like LP. They didn't have like patches or like pins or anything, or like anything really like besides the stickers.
Yeah, the price point issue is a big one, I think, as we kind of do more of these shows. You're like, look, I'm willing to throw you a little bit of money. I want to give you $10. What can I get for $10? And there just wasn't anything there. Again, you know, I can understand that these bands have to like purchase this stuff and carry it around, and maybe it's a gamble. But anyway, so it's a yellow on the merch with that. Okay, and then just the overall review of the whole concert. What are you going to give it?
I would just give it a yellow. I was hoping for a little more from Galactic Empire, maybe a bit of a longer set, some more skits or something. The venue, just need to turn the lights on, and yeah, I'd give it a yellow.
Yeah, it's a yellow, so it was fine. Again, the biggest issue here is the value of this. So if the value was met, like if I had paid $20 instead of 25, I don't know, I feel better, but it was a yellow. It's fun to see once, I guess, as most of these novelty bands are, as we're discovering. You go, you see it, and you're like, great, check that one off. I don't need to go see them again. So there's the conclusion of our Galactic Empire experience. Thanks for watching.